Hey guys, Pelican Pants here. Today I'm just going to introduce my worm bin, and if this goes well, hopefully the next video will be introducing myself a little bit better, my story, and yeah, we'll see how we go, hey? This here is my worm bin. Overbuilt, and I've got a gazebo up above it during our wet season. We're just coming out of our wet season now, so it'll be soon time to take the gazebo down and let the bin get a bit of sunlight, though during our summer we have a wet season, so we're in the tropics, and we get a lot of water, so hence the gazebo. And our sun is very harsh and contributes a lot to heating things up and stressing the worms out. So they're covered. The cover can soon come down because our wet season is just about over. We're going into our dry. And yeah, anyway, I've lost my train of thought. So this is my worm bin. I've got the tub that the worms are in nestled inside of another tub, and that tub is filled with water. Okay, so that's not necessarily to collect leachate or anything like that. That there allows for evaporative cooling and adds weight to the bin. So if we get a cyclone, I've got quite a few 100 kilos in the bottom to help offset that being from blown around and stuff like that. So yeah, I fill it with water and just through the side with the hose. And anyway, there's a drain down the bottom there. So up here, this bin has been going for about 6-7 months now. I've already been harvesting a lot of castings and putting them to use. If we just have a look down here beside the bin, I've got a tub there that I've got just worm castings in. Let's see if I can zoom in a little. That's my finished castings. They've been sitting there aging for a bit. Ah, here we go. That fella there, that is what we call a flatworm or a planaria. They turn out to be parasites, and they will eat things like worms, snails, all sorts of different critters in the bin. So I have to get rid of them. Whoops. They are a little horrible because they create a really, really sticky... it's gone. They create a sticky mucus that they'll spread over their prey to immobilise them. It sticks to your hands like crazy. I've got to be a bit more mindful of where I'm pointing this camera. Yeah. So yeah, I was treating them like a protected species at first, thinking that they will be just beneficial bin critters along with most other things, but turns out they will eat worms, so they're not such a great thing in my bin. Okay, here's some there we go, that's a bit better. Some screens that I've made up out of a bucket and some stainless sheet, perforated sheet. That's the bottom of the same bucket. with a little bit of cloth, hardware cloth, or snake mesh, whatever you want to call it, in the bottom of that. And we'll be putting them to use up that end of the bin shortly. So I'll just move them there. So I'll take these covers off. They're just to keep some moisture in the bin. I'll stop them blowing away. Okay, underneath there I've got some hessian that we'll just pull off to the side for now, so we can show you a bit of what's in the bin. Now I have mixed species of worms in here. I've got red wigglers, blue worms, tiger worms, European night crawlers, African night crawlers, gardeners' friends. So it's a big community, and we'll just take you on a bit of a look through here. So that's just a bit of a paper bag that held heat beads or barbecue briquettes. That's in there. Here was a pair of shorts I put in there probably 3-4 weeks ago. They're chewing through that like crazy. Just another pair of shorts. Okay, I will grab a tool. Just a 3-prong hand rake, and I'll show you a little bit. Wow, this is awkward trying to rake and record. Hang on, here we go. Zoom in a little bit more. Oh, there we go. This is difficult. I might have to get my partner out to help me next time. So you can see some of my last feeding in here. It smells really good at the moment. I had a whole lemon there as of a week ago. It's now gone. The cabbage I put in, red cabbage, doesn't seem to be breaking down anytime soon. When it does, they'll be there to eat that. Okay, so put all sorts of stuff in here. That was a packet of Krispy Kreme donuts, eggshells. Punch them up occasionally. I don't worry about grinding them. Yeah, I'll zoom out and then just bring the phone in closer. It might help me with my aiming. They must be all down deep today. Here's a whole piece of corn I put in. They love that corn cob, as you can see. They're obviously not shy, the worms. Now, let's just see if we can find a good collection of the buggers. Because I'm starting to get some good numbers up at the moment, but That's a young African. Love that purple sheen they get about them. His clitellum's looking a little bit raw. He must have recently laid in a cocoon. See how it's all shrivelly? It looks like an open wound almost at times. Let's keep digging. Okay. Let's move away from this little area and let's have a look at an area I haven't played with recently, because I've gave that area a good dig and turn up a couple of days ago, so let's just see what they're like down underneath where that pair of shorts was. Wow, that's all ready for harvest soon. That's all well and truly finished. I'll have to let that dry out. Okay, so it looks like they are being a little bit shy in terms of not grouping together in big clumps under the feeding zone today. The bin up top is a bit cool, so that might have something to do with it. We've had a really cold snap here the last week, and the top of the bin's still quite cool to the touch, so they might be a little bit deep to try and get where it's warm. Let's just have a dig down here. They usually like these corners here in the bin. This bin's got lots of corners for the worms to hide in. Anyone that's kept worms know they seem to love hiding in the corners of your bin. So wow, not many there. Let's go over here. So I've got they all want to make a fool of me today. So there's definitely worms in here, but they're all really spread out, whereas normally you'd find them all huddled up underneath their food having a chow. But they've all gone walkabout. Let's have a look over the other side of the bin. Okay. Up top it's quite dry, but down, once you scrape that top layer off, it's definitely quite moist and sticky underneath. So everywhere we look, there are worms, but they're just not in large concentrations. So that'd probably be another African. The Africans have done really well over this warm season of ours. How wet. Yeah, so today they're not all in one spot, but they've spread out. That one felt like it had lots of worms in it, but maybe not. Some avocado seeds. I have real dramas trying to sprout avocado seeds unless I put them in the bin. Then they just seem to go like crazy. Palm seeds. When the palm fruit, hope you can see up there, when that fruit tends to drop, I will gather it up off the ground and chuck that in the bin. The worms eat all the stuff off it, all the flesh, pretty quickly. Good food source. And then I get those seeds sprouting up, and if I wanted to, I could plant those and sell them as young palm trees, but I haven't got the inclination to really do that anytime soon. But as you can see, yeah, they sprout up. When they do, I can just pick them out and flick them off to the side. They eventually will die in this environment and break down and add more food to the bin, but all the living roots create exudates that help all our microbiology in the bin to flourish. So they're good for that, so I'm not stressed about them. Lately I've been using a lot of cane mulch as bedding. I have been buying it by the bale, and it seems to be really well received by the worms. They seem to love it. The Africans absolutely love their carbon sources, and that's a fairly big chunk. But usually if I break it open, they've hollowed it out inside. As you can see, that's quite a lot of castings in there and some very young worms. They use it like a hatchery all the adults will go in there, they'll eat the insides out for their sugar content and carbon. Snail, I thought we had a cocoon there, but no. And yeah, they seem to quite often lay their cocoons in there. They have a bit of a mating session, get in there, and they use the edges of the cane to help scrape their cocoons over their heads, and the cycle of life continues. Now I reset this end of the bed probably 3-4 weeks ago, and it's breaking down nicely. Well, I might have to put this video away and redo it another time when I have something interesting to show you, because they all seem to be hiding down deep somewhere, spread out, and being quite uninteresting. Got plenty more finished castings here to harvest, and that's dry. Another avocado starting for me. And that is pretty much ready to be screened. I sometimes will start off using this wire basket to sift out the really big chunks before moving to that size. And that's a lot of the wood chip and stuff I put in there. I'll show you. Because I'd like a really fungally dominated bin. If you're not aware of what fungal dominated worm castings are all about, that's probably something you might be interested in looking up. But underneath here, I've got a whole heap of wood chip that I put some grain spawn in quite a long time ago. It's all a bit dry up top, as you can see as I get down lower. All that white, that's mycelium. And I harvested this a while ago, and I've recently re-topped it up with more hardwood wood chip to keep the fungal organism growing. And when it's all nicely populated and thick with the white mycelium, and the mulch starts to break down, you can see, like here, all the fungus will feed on the decaying wood, and then I feed that to my worm bin. Okay, I'll just cover that back up. I'll have to give that a bit more of a water to keep it going. So, deliberately farming fungus for both myself. I eat the mushrooms that grow off that wood chip. I think that one was started with Calicybe indica, a mushroom that grows in India quite natively and loves heat. It will often fruit in my compost tumbler, but I have a hard time so far getting it to fruit anywhere else. So it must want really hot temperatures, and that's to be expected of that strain. But quite often I'll use other edible species, gourmet species like oyster mushrooms, that are really easy to grow, and then feed the spent substrate to the worms. And yeah, it makes for really rich castings. But yeah, the worms don't really want to say hi today by the looks of things. They're all a little bit camera shy today, I suppose. I'll give them a good feeding and I'll try again. Here's another piece of the sugar cane that you can see that they've hollowed out, and you can see the mycelium taking hold in there. I'm really bad with this aim. I'll have to get my partner to help me for future videos, I think. That was a mango seed. They've gotten inside it, hollowed the seed out and left the husk for now. And as it breaks down, the worms will be there to eat it. So yeah. Not sure if any of this video will be used at this point, if I'll just go bugger it and throw it all up. I've really got to work out my hand-eye coordination while I'm distracted with the video camera. But yeah, quite happy with this screen size here. That's somewhere around the 3mm mark, and that separates a lot of the woody material out. So I run it through the coarser ones first typically. All that large stuff will stay in the worm bin to continue to break down, and all that fine stuff, which is our castings, get picked up and put into some of these bins and bags that I've got lying around. That's all just worm castings. Feels great to play with. Underneath here, I've got this container here to make another worm bin out of. For now, I've been creating some of my own potting soil, which is worm castings, mushroom compost, some coarse sand, some wood chip to break down a bit further. And when it's ready, I would like the wood chips to break down a little bit further first. I'll use that for potting. That there is a cocoon. I'm not sure if it's a worm cocoon though, because I've never seen anyone else have cocoons that red. So that would be interesting to find out from others, whether sometimes you get cocoons that are really red, if some species makes really red cocoons. I don't know, but there's something in my bin that lays big, really. There's another one. Really red cocoons. Yeah, I'll cover that up and let that break down for a bit longer. As for my... Okay, as I was saying, that's some cane mulch. I've got quite a supply left over here underneath this tarp. Where all these bales sit until I'm ready to get off my bottom and move them around to help create new garden beds. And I occasionally take a bale over for the worms as bedding. And it also acts as food. There's still a lot of sugars left in that stuff. That the worms just absolutely go crazy for. So yeah, we'll leave it there for today. I'm going to head over there and screen out some castings. I might see if I can prop my phone up and just show you, let this record while I'm doing my sifting. You might be able to, I just kind of prop this up somehow. I'm going to have to probably get my partner to hang on to it, but what can I do? Maybe so I'm using stainless steel. This is a bain marie tray with a little lizard in there, but that will catch castings. I quite often use stainless steel buckets as well, and let's just see how this goes for us. I'll show you my little process. Once it's like that, I just chuck it further up the other end of the bin. Chuck it. Chuck. And it keeps going like that until I have a full tray. You have to tell me what you like seeing in your worm vids. I watch everyone else's worm videos. A couple of the channels I particularly enjoy. Starting right back at the start when I was first interested in, I'd watched all of Emily the Crazy Worm Lady's videos. She was an absolute sweetheart, and did some really good comparisons of different species and things like that. So I found her really useful. I believe she's a nurse, and she's kind of stopped recording her worm videos around the time of the pandemic, I believe, because she was that busy looking after everyone else, and hopefully one day she makes it back. But if not, her existing videos are still a great resource. Another worm channel that I frequently enjoy is V, the Garden and Worm Lady. A newer channel has been Tolga. He does some good videos. He's got a nice voice to tune out to when I'm playing video games or something like that, relaxing in the house. I'll often have his videos and V's videos playing in the corner. I also enjoy Dirty Joe's Worms. He's got another interesting accent that I like to listen to. Who else? Captain Matt, he does some good videos as well. I tend to like the longer format videos that people like Dirty Joe and V make, because I can let them play and just listen to other people talk in the background while I'm going about my business inside. I don't get out very much, and it helps keep my sanity. I came down with cancer, blood cancer, a few years back. A really harrowing point in my life. I'm still here, still good, thankfully. When I was diagnosed, I was told I'd be very lucky to see the week out. Their best case scenario, which would have been absolutely miraculous in their opinion, would have been me surviving 2 weeks without treatment, though they were thinking I had a matter of days left. Yeah, so that was a really horrible step, and since then, while I've managed to kick that cancer to the curb, I've really been left a wreck physically and mentally. After that, I keep coming down with new autoimmune diseases quite frequently. You'll notice I have some older videos up where I was dealing with some of my chilies that I was growing hydroponically, and I was sharing those videos amongst a chat group I was a part of, and it was a bit of a social thing for me, because I really don't leave the house very often anymore. It's a bit of a sad situation, but it kind of helps me engage and have a bit of a social life from my lounge room. I'm sure there's quite a lot of people on YouTube that use the platform for their social reasons like that, rather than just trying to make money off YouTube videos. I'm not here to really try and make money. maybe one day if I get crazy good at this, who knows, but I really don't expect that. I'm just looking for a group of people that share similar passions, and I really enjoy some of the content put out by other worm people, so I'm going to hopefully share a bit of my worm journey. I am by no means an expert, and I would defer you to some of those other channels before you take my advice. I'm not trying to tell and teach people how to do this. You can see what works and doesn't work on my videos, I suppose. I'll share the mistakes and the good fortunes with everyone, but and if someone can learn something from me along the way, then great. But I'm just looking for a social group of other worm people, other gardening people, just to try and keep my brain active rather than just sitting around on a lounge chair all day, essentially waiting to die. That's not a life I want for myself, so I'm just trying to rehabilitate myself and enjoy some company online with other worm people. So if you have worm friends or a worm person yourself, please like and subscribe, just so I have a community that I can get to know and get me out of my head a little bit. There's another one of those really red cocoons. It's a bit shriveled up. I hope you can see this stuff from where you are. This very first video's taught me a lot in terms of getting set up to do this beforehand, because it's getting pretty tricky to record by yourself. I've got massive respect for those who make it look so easy. But yeah, once I've got this filled, I will switch to the next size down in my screening. Got just a bit of a rubbish bin for bits of plastic off screen. That one I come across little bits of plastic that have made it into the bin, which I'm sure is inevitable for everyone these days. Plastic, you just can't seem to get away from it. So I don't fret too much when it's in my bin. I just pick it out and chuck it in a bin that I have handy for that express purpose. Anyway, let's move to the next size in the screen. So this end of the bin is fairly well free of worms. I keep a cup, one of those compostable cups that really struggle to break down, in the worm bin. And if it eventually breaks down, well, that was why it was put in the worm bin, to save it from landfill. But in the meantime, I'll usually pick out the worms that are amongst these dry castings, put it there, and then I can use those little stragglers that don't make it down to the feeding end to start a new worm bin, or when I'm finished my little efforts here, I'll go and take them down to the business end. So now I'll switch buckets. And go through. Come on, little fella. Out you come. Right. Then I'll put that stuff through that screen. Take out the next. There's worms here. I'm not looking to particularly save these worms for another, like separate these worms rather for another bin today. So I'm just going to chuck most of them up to the other end. They get to go for a little bit of a fly and get a free air travel to the feeding end. So I think this mesh was 6 mil or 6.5 mil. I'll have to confirm that for you, and I'll likely translate that to inches for people. I don't work in inches. Some Australians, some older Australians still work with inches, but most Australians these days use metric. Metrics everywhere in Australia, and I suppose it makes kind of sense. Base 10's just so easy to work with in mathematics. Don't have to do conversions to metric, which simplifies things greatly. I've got no issues with people who like to use the imperial. I can see why some people are nostalgic for it, and it's part of their identity, I suppose. They've used it for so long, and their parents used it, and their great-grandparents used it, and so on for many, many generations. So I can understand why a lot of people don't want to lose that. Yeah, so this, you can see that was the bottom of a bucket. I've just roughly, very, very roughly cut out some wedges to allow what gets screened to fall through the bottom of the bucket, and wired, you can see little bits of tyre wire, wired that in place. Another channel I forgot to mention was Anne's channel. She's plant obsessed, I believe the name of her channel is, and she's great as well. I really enjoy her content. She makes this look so easy, the filming and coordinating all the camera angles and things like that. She's tops. I haven't found too many Aussies with YouTube channels on worm farming at all. There is Marty. And I used to watch his stuff quite a lot when I was first starting out as well, though I don't know, he's going through some tough times of his own, and quite a lot of his videos are just focusing more upon the real beginners aspect. Which I seem to have kind of outgrown for a while. We'll see what new stuff he does put up. Okay, and so from there I just go down to the next screen size. Get more of that fine stuff out, which will leave me, hope you guys can see that, with pretty much pure castings. Not 100% pure, but it's certainly better than any of the castings I've seen to be able to find for sale at hardware stores and things like that. When you can control what goes in and use better components, like my fungally inoculated wood chips, foods like household scraps. As I grow and expand, I'll probably start adding grains and things like that to it. For now, I don't need to. I managed to be able to feed these guys pretty well from our kitchen scraps and fruit we grow here on this small mango orchard. We've got something like 300 and something mango trees, a couple of different varieties. And another 100 odd lime trees that need a lot of work to bring them back. I have only recently bought this place, and the old guy that used to run this property, along with quite a lot of properties he had in town, I think they had something like 6,000 or 7,000 trees at one point. He unfortunately died of cancer himself, and his partner needed to get away after a while, She's gone down south to live with her sister, I believe. And so I was lucky enough to be able to buy this place. And I do consider myself extremely lucky because we've been renting and I lost a lot of money that we'd been saving to buy a place throughout my cancer journey. While we have Medicare in Australia that really helps out with treatment, unfortunately all the drugs as an outpatient would cost me, you know, like $500-600 a week at times, or a fortnight, I think. Can't quite remember. But all those drugs, that all came out of my own pocket, and yeah, we burnt a lot of our savings. You know, all of our savings, I should say, and had to squirrel away money over the last couple of years, and I found myself in a situation where the owner of the property I was renting wanted to sell, so we had to find somewhere. And had to leave the township that I was in the suburb, and move out to the sticks to be able to afford somewhere. And we came across this place, and it's working out well for us, I think. We've got our challenges here to iron out, but we will. But yeah, the rental market in Australia has really gone to shit. It was looking like we were going to end up homeless, and that was a pretty scary situation for a while. We got lucky in being able to find somewhere that we could afford. There's a lot of people at the moment that are really struggling. If you haven't got the ability to buy, there's a lot of people now just living in tents because the rental market is just non-existent. So yeah, I consider myself quite fortunate. And yeah, as I fill this up, that gets stored. The other worm channels have taught me that it's best to store the castings for a period of time, let them age before using it. So that is likely to be something that I do as well, simply because I'm producing a lot of castings at the moment. Okay, that was that 20 litre pot now filled. Yeah, I'll continue on with the rest of this area, and I'll catch up with you another time. Alrighty guys, hooroo.